Hi, it's me Jazzy. I'm back with another tech related video, and today I'm taking a look at a thermal imaging camera. Now, as we've seen, a thermal imaging camera is a very useful thing indeed in electronics fault finding. So today we're looking at the Kaiweets KTI-W02 Pro. So big thanks to Kaiweets for sending this over. They've sent me this review sample over at no cost to myself, so I can do a thorough review of it. Now, this is a 256 by 192 resolution thermal imaging camera. Kaiweets say this gives exceptional clarity and superior image sharpness compared to other cameras with a similar resolution. So this camera uses KWSR, which is a real-time super resolution algorithm, enhancing the infrared images to an impressive 512 by 384 imaging resolution. The camera has 4 image modes, including infrared, visible light, fusion and picture-in-picture. The camera also features HD video recording, and taking pictures on the thermal imaging camera will automatically capture a dual image using visible light and thermal imaging to give you a dual 2 megapixel image. So there's an awful lot of features on this camera, so let's get this one over on the bench and see what we get in the box. Right, let's see what we've got, shall we? So I believe this just slides out. Now then, there's the clue. Open sesame. Right, what have we got? Let's have a look. We've got a box. What have we got? Instructions, product certificate, warranty card. Okay. Web links to read and download documents, the warranty, and that's the quick start guide. Okay, so what else do we have? We have a case. Right, let's see what we've got inside. Right, so here we go. So this is the KTI-W02 Pro. Now, Kaiweets have said that this gives a superior image sharpness compared to other cameras with a similar resolution, so we're going to check that out. It looks very nice. It's a nice weight. It sits quite nicely in the hand. You've got a tripod mount on the bottom there. Trigger there. We've got 4 buttons on the front. And looks like we've got a USB-C connection in the top there, so you can recharge it. This has got a big battery. 16 hours of runtime apparently from this. Wow. It's pretty darn good in my book. What else do we have in the case? We've got a cable, USB-C to A, that's our charge cable. Lovely. And we've got our UK power adapter, fantastic, for charging it up. That is a 5 volt 2 amp 10 watts. Okay, nice that that's included. Always like to see a UK adapter. And it's nice that fits in the box as well, because quite often you find the adapters don't always fit in various boxes. Let's power on. Right, here we go. Straight away, so you can see you've got a nice clear screen. You've got your temperature there, then you've got your max and your min temperature. You've got your battery level at the top there. You've got your emissivity down in the corner here, and you've got your current time here. Obviously, crosshair in the middle indicating where you're taking the temperature. It's a nice clear image. The usual suspect is always my power supply for something that's getting really hot. Well, you can see the detail on it there, and you see you've got the trigger on the back there. So if you want to take an image, you just press the trigger and it'll take a still image. You can see the detail of the terminals and stuff on there. That's cool. Now you can also use the trigger with the laser and with the flashlight. We'll take a look at that in a bit. It's really nice and easy to use. I like how clear the screen is. So you've got the up and down in the middle here, does the modes. So at the moment we're in infrared mode. So if I go up one, we've got PIP or picture in picture. That just overlays a square of infrared on the picture so you can see what you're looking at. Go up again, you've got visible light, so that gives you the actual image, but you can still get your temperature readings. So I can see at a glance where my crosshair is. It's about 30 degrees, and I can see my high and low temperatures the same as I would in infrared mode, but I've got the full vision. Now if I go up one more, you get a combination of the two, and you get the fusion mode, which has got the infrared over the top of the visible image. So let's go back to infrared for a minute. Here's another great thing with this model. It doesn't just do still photos, you can actually do video on it as well. So if you hold down the trigger, you can see it's actually starting to record video. So I can actually record what I'm looking at, and you can actually replay this back in the software. There's software you can get for your PC that you can actually replay this. So if you were fault finding on a board, you could take a video of the board and then it'll record all the temperatures and stuff, and you can analyze it later on if you want to. Press the trigger again, that stops recording, and that's saved automatically. Okay, so I've set up my usual non-scientific experiment here. I've got a thermistor on top of the Thandar power supply, and my multimeter here is telling me it is 34 degrees. So this is not really a scientific or accurate test, but I like to do this anyway. So it's giving me 35 and a half on that dark patch there, which is the thermistor. So it just shows me that that's ballpark. Yeah, it's giving me 35 along the path of that. Yeah, that's giving me about 34, but I don't know how accurate that is, to be fair. The other thermometer I had on there before actually gave up, so that's another repair I need to do, the Cane May. Now a long press on the OK button will take you to the dimming modes, so you can see we're on A there. M is the brightest, then you've got A, then you've got S is the darkest. So I'm going to leave it on A, which is the middle one. That seems about right for me. Lovely. Now you do get the quick start guide with the thermal camera, and it also gives you this little piece of paper here that tells you to scan this QR code to get the following documents, which I've done, and it does indeed give you a full PDF user manual with all the details and the details of how to download the PC software if you want to hook it up to your PC, and it's worth doing. I'll show you that in a little bit. There's also an app you can get, which we'll take a quick look at as well in a bit, where you can actually connect this to your phone and get the image on your phone as well as on here, which is really cool. Right, so let's have a look at the menu. We've got a lot going on the menu here. So we've got our gallery at the top there, so you can go in there and you can review your images. So you can scroll through some of the images that I've taken. There you go. You can just scroll through. There's my lights. Technics Hi-Fi, you can see some of them are in picture-in-picture mode, some of them are in infrared mode, some of them are in fusion mode. But you get some great images off of this, and you can just go back with this one. You can also view the videos on here, which is really cool. So you can transfer the photos and the videos to your PC as well, so you can have a look at them on there. Or you can view your videos on here. So here's a little bit of video footage. I think this is what we just took earlier. There you go. And that was just while I was just showing you the video camera earlier. So you can see you've got your footage there. It's quite nice that you can review that back, especially if it's a moment, if something happens at a certain moment. Like something goes short when you turn something on, or some temperature suddenly changes for some reason. You can capture that and you can review it back. And like I said, in the software you can actually analyze all the different temperatures and stuff as well, which is really cool. So that's your video playback. Now the super resolution mode takes it into this KWSR mode. Now this is what takes it from a 256 by 192 resolution. It processes it into a 512 by 384 resolution, which they call a super resolution. That's why you could see so much detail just now when we were looking at the Thandar power supply. You've got your temperature ranges here, and you can change that if you want to. So it's on auto shift. You've got a temperature range of -20 to -150, or you've got 0 to 550, or you can just have it on auto shift, which I tend to do. Now you've got your emissivity there, which you can change depending on, again, the material that you're measuring, and it does give you a guide in the quick start guide to the emissivity. So as with most thermal cameras, it's set to 0.95 as a default, but you can tweak that depending on what it is you're measuring the temperature of. Now you can change your color palette on here. We've got 6 different color palettes you can change between. There you go. I tend to favour this one. So if we go down, you can turn your centre point on and off. If you don't want to have your centre point, you can turn that off. I like to have that because it gives me something to aim for. You can change your temperature unit from centigrade to Fahrenheit. You can set a temperature alarm. You can turn that, that's off at the moment, so you can turn that on and you can set it to a high or low temperature. So if you pointed that at something and told it you want the alarm to go off if it sees something above 80 degrees or 90 degrees or whatever you determine to be the safe temperature, so it gives you that warning. You've got your distance there, you can set it to. You can set it to what distance you're working at. You can change the distance unit from meters to yards. You've got your auto off power saving mode there. You can change your screen brightness. You've got a laser which you can use if you turn the laser on. So now when we press the trigger, you get a laser, so you can point that at whatever you're measuring the temperature of. So as soon as you squeeze the trigger, you've got your laser. That's pretty cool. Now if we go back into the menu again, we turn the laser off. You've also got a floodlight, which is pretty cool because if I turn the floodlight on, pull the trigger, it turns the flashlight on. Quite handy. It's quite bright actually, if you want to see what you're doing in the dark. So you've got an awful lot of stuff in the menu. I won't go into all of it. You've got date and time, language, all the usual stuff. Format your SD card. You've got the transparency for your picture in picture and the resolution for your visual light mode. So you can have it as 240 by 320 or 1200 by 1600. We've got Wi-Fi on here and we've got AP modes, which is access point. So you can set an access point and join the access point with your phone, which pairs your phone to this so you can get the live images. We'll take a look at that in a little bit because that is pretty cool. And you've got your USB mode there, so when you hook it up to your PC, you can get your images and your videos off and you can analyze those in the software. You can do upgrades from here as well. You can do upgrades wirelessly, and you've just got your camera info there, which tells you the software version and the firmware version. There's an awful lot going on in the menu. There's a lot of information in there. I reckon let's get a few things out we can have a look at with this. Okay, it's noisy fan amplifier time. Yep, I still haven't done that fan. I've been too busy playing with thermal cameras, obviously. So we can see we've got a bridge rectifier there that's given us about 43 degrees, 44 degrees. If we want to remember that, we just pull the trigger once and it'll take a photo of that for me so I can remember it with all the temperatures and stuff on it. So you can see it's giving me a lot of information at the moment. It's telling me where the hot spots are down there. Because my crosshair is pointed there, it's telling me there's the hot bit there. You can see that bit's hot there. That's the bit I want to be looking at, which is there, which is getting 53 degrees, getting a little bit toasty. Something over there sitting at 54. It's really nice and clear to read. Feels really nice and solid to use and hold. It's not light because you've got that big battery in there, that 16-hour battery. Right, let's take a look at this Philips scope here. Now this is where the W02 Pro is at home. When you're working from a bit of a distance away from the board, you've got a big board there to play with. You can get into a reasonable distance, but obviously no macro on this, so you won't want to be getting right on in there, but you can see you do get a decent view from a little distance away. Right, so you can see if I go in and turn off the super resolution mode and come back, you look at these capacitors down here. You can see they're a little bit out of focus, quite soft focus, aren't they? So if I don't move the camera and I turn super resolution mode on, you can see that these are much sharper, crisper. You can see the detail in them. So you've got a nice 2.4-inch LCD screen to see the details on. I find you get enough detail in the infrared that you can go to picture-in-picture mode and you can see, look, there's quite a bit of heat there in those components. You can put your crosshair on it and see that that's running at 72 degrees, which is a little on the warm side. Now this scope does work, but it has got some issues, including our favourite blue capacitors. This will be a future project. There's a lot of future projects here. This is the fusion mode. You can see here that you can really make out the circuit board quite nicely here, and you can see at a glance where your areas of heat are. These are potentially your trouble areas. Well, there's a lot of transistors grouped in this corner here, especially in this fusion mode. You can actually get a good view there of where that heat is. We've got a temperature alarm on here, so let's enable the alarm. Let's go 75. All right, we won't do low temperature, we'll just do high temperature. There we go, and we've selected high temperature, 75 degrees. All right, so we need to turn the LED alarm on. Right, so the alarm is on, the alarm is on. It's now set for high temp. Let's have a look. You get an alert by the LED flashing. There's not actually an audible alert, as far as I can tell. You get a flashing LED. So if it's picking up something over your target temperature, which is 75 degrees, which is picking up because the high is at 78 there, you get the flashing LED to tell you that that is over temperature. So there you go. So let's go back in and turn that off. Right, so what we do have here is we have a standard tripod mount on the bottom of the infrared camera. So that means we can screw that onto our standard tripod thread. There we go. And now we can position our infrared camera. So we've now got our W02 Pro mounted on the tripod, which is rather fantastic. This seems a really good time to try the app. If you're an Android user, you can get it from the Google Play Store. So if you're on iOS like myself, you can get it from the App Store, and the app is called Thermography. So open the Thermography app. There we go. So in the camera menu, you do have to turn on the access point. So if you go down here, so when you go into AP mode, okay, so we're going to turn AP on. So your hotspot is on. There's your hotspot name. So camera 100310, and your password is just that. Okay, so if I go into my Wi-Fi networks, I can see I've got camera 100310 there, and what I want to do is join this network. Right, so I go into my Thermography app, and I'm greeted with this screen. So press the camera button here. Connecting service. Just takes a moment to hook up to the camera. Right, there we go. We're in. Link device. Right, device is now linked. So this is now, get rid of that. This is now linked up to this. So what we see on here is what we see on here. There's an ever so slight lag. Not very much. There's certainly no lag on the thermal camera itself. There will be a slight lag on the app, and that some of that's down to how good your Wi-Fi is and stuff. So, and what phone you're using. This is quite an old iPhone, so if you've got something a bit newer, I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert on lag on apps, but what I can say is this is an iPhone 8, I believe. 8 Plus, and this is working absolutely fine. Downloaded the app, no problem. So even if I go to change the mode, it will change the mode on the phone. So you get picture in picture, visible light, infrared, and you can change the mode on your phone as well. So if I go picture in picture, it changes it on the camera. It's talking to each other there. See, fusion mode, visible light mode. There you go. And I can take a photo on my phone if I want that stored on my phone, or I can still take a photo on the camera. So that's pretty cool. And I can also take video on my phone as well. There you go. And then you can save that video. That video is saved straight on your phone. That's pretty cool. I quite like that. Now, you might wonder why on earth you would need to have it on your phone and on there. So where I can see this coming in handy is if I've got the camera at some weird angle because it's looking down inside something, I can still see that on my phone. Like I can be over the other side of the studio and still be looking at this image on my phone. Right, so now you can see the image is live on the phone, which is quite handy. As you can see that actually there is an ever so slight lag, but it's really not very much, to be honest. And the thing is, if I want to point that round here to take a look at this logic board on the side of this scope, now without having to crane my head around there, I can see what these temps are, and I can see that quite clearly on my phone here. So if you've got something that's really awkward, you're working on something big and you can't quite get in there, and I can see what's getting hot on this side here. There are other things you can do as well. If you highlight an area here, it'll give you max and min temperatures. There's lots you can do. I haven't even really scraped the surface on this yet. There's loads you can do to analyze the temperatures on here. You can go visible light. Another use here, obviously, is if I'm looking at this board here, if this was a much bigger piece of equipment that I wasn't easily able to turn around on my bench, I can just take a photo of that, and I've got that on my phone without having to try and crane my head around into some, I want to see if some little bit of wiring there's damaged or something. Just take a photo of it. I'll have a look down in the power supply here and see if there's any more blue capacitors that I'm going to be replacing in a month's time or so. Even to the extent where I can poke this around the front and see what's happening around here, which is not a lot. Okay, so but that is quite handy. And you can do that in visible light mode, or you can go, right, I want to see the infrared, just press infrared. And if you don't want the parameters, you just swipe them off the side there. Another thing you can do from the app, while you're in the app, is you can change some of the parameter settings as well. So you're on the object mode there. If you go to parameters there, you can change the emissivity. So we're on 0.95. You can really quickly change that. So if I change that to 0.98, you can see that's changed on that bottom right corner. That's changed to 0.98 on the camera there. I reckon that's really handy. For me, that's going to be handy when I'm trying to reach around the back of crevices looking at stuff. This will come in especially handy if you're working on a really big piece of equipment that you can't necessarily get to or can't get your head around the back of. Yeah, I can see that would come in handy. Okay, so let's take a look then what happens when you hook the KTI-W02 up to your PC. So I've got mine plugged in via USB with the cable that came with the thermal camera. You can see here it's opened as camera and it's got the internal storage here. So this tells you how much free space you've got on your SD card. So if we go in there, we've got various folders. Source image gives you all your images that you've taken as JPEG images, and you can open those and take a look at those. There's my mouse on my desk. So we're going to have a look at these in the software in a minute. So you go into video files and same again, you can click that and you can look at the video playback that you've taken. Here's a video I took of the Philips oscilloscope that we were looking at on the bench earlier. So you can take a look at those. But if you download the software, which is called Thermal Tools, you can actually have a look, because you'll notice here these are IRGD files rather than MP4 files. Now that means they've got information embedded on them that we can take a look at in the software. So let's start up Thermal Tools and take a look. So this is what you see when you open Thermo Tools. It's quite quick to download and very easy to install. I'm running it on Windows 11, so your mileage may vary depending on what OS you're running. Now you've got pictures and you've got videos, so you can import your videos. So if we grab that video that I was looking at just now with you, you can see that we can put our cursor over that video anywhere we like, and it's giving us the temperature. That's pretty cool. So you could actually pause that and have a look at specific areas. Look, that's a bit white hot over there, 55.5 degrees. Oh, something's getting hot there, but it's okay, it's only 45 degrees. So that's quite handy. You can also invert the image as well, if that helps you to identify, and you can even change. If you have a look here, you can change the color palette between iron red, white hot, North Pole. You've got all these different ones on here, rainbow. So you can change it to whatever you think. I normally use iron red, but that's just because that's what I'm used to. But you can see how you can change that. There's loads you can do. I won't go into all the details of everything you can do on the software. There's tons of stuff you can do to analyze. You can see down here, you've got all these parameters down here. It tells you the emissivity that was used. The target distance was 0.8 meters when I did this one. It gives you temperature parameters down there. You've got so much information, and the frame rate was 30 FPS. So that's in the video. If you go to the picture one, and there, again, I'm just scratching the surface on this. There is so much you can do with this. Now, when you go to pictures, so if I put in this picture here, this is again part of the Philips scope, I think it was, and I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can look, I can put my cursor anywhere on there and it'll tell me the temperature exactly where my cursor is. If that's not enough information for you, you can actually draw a shape. Doesn't have to be a square, could be a circle or a hexagon around a certain area, and it'll give you graphs and information about that particular section there. So if that wasn't enough for you, there's a 3D mode. Now the 3D mode is crazy. So this gives you, if you click on 3D, look at this 3D temperature map of the image. That's unreal, isn't it? You can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel on your mouse, and you can hold down the right button and move it about, and you can see where that big temperature peak is there, and it tells you the temperature on that temperature peak. I mean, this is a bit extreme, but is this not cool? I think this is very cool. How often you would use this, I don't know, but it's great that it's got this information if you wanted to like really delve into temperatures and stuff. A look at another one here. This is the Philips scope again, and you can just put your cursor over there and see. So if you took a photo of something that you were working on and you've come back to it later on or another day or whatever, you can go, right, now where was that area that was getting hot, and you can have a look at exactly that. And again, you've got your 3D map, however useful that's going to be. There's no denying that is very, very cool. Let's take a look at my Thandar power supply here. So if we look at that on the 3D map, you can actually see the front of the power supply and the things that are on top of it. Look, there's the power supply, there's a cable that's going across it, there's the knobs, there's the other couple of devices that are sitting on top of it. And that's crazy that you can just go in and look at that. So yeah, I mean, the same again if you look at my Technic system here, going to 3D, you can see that the amplifier part's getting quite hot, and the bit that sits above it, which is the processor, digital processor, that's not getting quite so hot. But it's crazy to think that you can look at that and you can see that heat that's coming off the top of it there. Is my LED filming light. In terms of 3D, that kind of makes sense. That makes perfect sense because the LEDs are around the edge of the light and it's cool in the center. But to see it visualized like this, I just think that's really cool. The other thing is, when you've got your infrared image there, look at your thumbnail there. So you've got your visible light image, you can swap between the two there. So you can see exactly what you were looking at there. So if you're thinking, what was this down here? I can't quite remember what this was. That's this temperature. You can swap between and go, oh, right, it was that. It is debatable how useful you think that's going to be. There you go. It's just a quick shot taken inside my PC. So you can see the Tough Gaming logo on there. And you can see where the heat areas are. So yeah, that's the Thermo tools. So that's literally just a quick glimpse at the software. There's more it can do. I haven't even really scratched the surface. I think the software and the app are really useful tools. How much you would use those depends on your method of working. But I think having a record of temperatures on a board that you've been working on that you can come back to, and maybe you didn't get some measurements that you needed, you can get those through the software. So I think it's a really useful tool in addition to the thermal camera. Now, I've been using the KTI-W02 Pro for a couple of weeks now. Now, what I will say is I really love the clarity of the screen. You've got that 2.4-inch screen, and with the super resolution and the fact it's running at 25 Hertz frame rate, you do get really clear images. Okay, you're not going to get those really close-up images on a board because you don't have a macro lens with this, but where this is really at home is working at a little bit of a distance from the board, and having things like the temperature alarm and the fact that you can take an image that gives you the infrared image and the visible light image, so you've got all those statistics and that record of that moment of what was happening. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It feels a great bit of kit to use. It's got a bit of weight to it. You've got that big old battery in there. The fact it does photos and videos for me is a real winner. I love the fact that you can record some video footage, look back at it later. You might capture something that maybe you missed when you were looking at a board. Now, things like the laser and the LED are welcome extras. How much you'd use those in electronics fault finding, I'm not too sure, but it does open this thermal camera up to other uses, so you can use it for other things other than electronics. But I will say, with the laser, having played around a bit with the laser, it does give you that indication on the board of exactly where you're pointing the crosshair, so you can get a really accurate measurement on something. It's a pretty chunky unit. I like the robust feel of it. It's also IP54 waterproof and 2-meter drop proof, which is not something I'll be testing with this, just in case. So if you're looking for a handheld thermal camera that's not also a multimeter, that's just focused on the business of being a thermal camera, then this one could be for you if it's within your price range. Now, Kaiweets have very kindly sent over an 18% off discount code for our viewers, which you can use to purchase the KTI-W02 Pro. There's also a 15% off site-wide code, which you can use at kaiweets.com. I'll leave all the codes and the links in the video description down below. And of course, you've got the additional bonus of the app and the software if you want to really delve into your temperature analysis. In terms of electronics fault finding, the one main thing it would benefit from is having some sort of macro lens, whether that's an update that Kaiweets will look at doing at some point. If you'd like to pick up the Kaiweets KTI-W02 Pro for yourself, I'll leave the link in the video description down below. Hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this thermal image camera with me today. Many thanks to everyone for watching and subscribing. I'll be back soon with some more tech related videos. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.